Hello, and welcome to Stories for Sleep. Tonight, our journey takes us not to a different time on our own world, but outward, into the vast, silent emptiness between the stars. For as long as we have existed, humanity has looked up at the night sky and wondered, are we alone? It is the most profound and fundamental question we can ask. In the second half of the 20th century, we began to listen for an answer. Using immense and sensitive instruments, we turned our ears to the cosmos, sifting through the endless static of the universe, listening for a single, structured whisper that might signal the presence of another intelligence. Our story tonight is about one of those instruments, a great patient ear pressed against the heavens. And it is about a single, fleeting moment in the summer of 1977, when that ear heard something incredible. A brief, powerful, and seemingly intelligent signal from the depths of space. A signal that was heard once, and then never again. This is the quiet, scientific riddle of the wow signal. So, I invite you to settle in. Let your mind drift away from the earth below and float among the quiet constellations. There is no need to solve this cosmic puzzle. Your only task is to rest, and to allow the calm, steady story of a whisper from the stars to guide you gently towards sleep. Imagine a large open field in Ohio in the 1970s. In that field sits a strange and massive structure, the size of 3 football fields laid side by side. It is not a sleek modern dish, but a vast, flat grid of metal mesh and wire. This is the Ohio State University Radio Observatory, known affectionately to all who worked there as the Big Ear for decades. It was one of the most powerful radio telescopes on the planet, a quiet, stationary giant, designed not to look at the universe, but to listen to it. In the 1970s, the Big Ear was engaged in one of the purest and most patient of all scientific endeavors, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or SETI. The work was a study in profound, quiet routine. Day after day, the great telescope stared at a fixed point, using the Earth's own rotation to slowly spin a strip of the sky. It listened to the endless cascade of radio waves from space, and its powerful computers translated this cosmic noise into a continuous stream of data, printed out on wide, perforated rolls of paper. The rhythm of the observatory was one of immense patience. The printers hummed and clattered, producing miles of paper covered in a seemingly random cascade of numbers and letters. This was the background noise of the universe, the hiss of distant stars and galaxies. The job of the astronomers was to sift through this waterfall of static, looking for a single, repeating or structured signal that might stand out. A few days after August 15, 1977, an astronomer named Dr. Ehman, a volunteer on the project, sat down to do his part. His task was to manually review the reams of computer printout that had been generated in the preceding days. It was slow, methodical, and often tedious work, scanning column after column of alphanumeric characters. The printout was a code. The numbers 1 through 9, and then the letters A through Z, represented the intensity of the signal received. Most of what he saw were ones and twos, the quiet, ambient murmur of deep space. But as he scanned the data from August 15th, his eyes stopped. There, in the middle of a column of low numbers, was a sequence that did not belong. It read 6EQJ5. It was a stunning anomaly. It represented a 72-second-long signal that had started low, risen to an intensity more than 30 times stronger than the background noise of deep space, and then faded away again. It was a perfect, bell-shaped curve, the exact signature one would expect to receive from a fixed, artificial source in deep space as the telescope's view swept past it. It was powerful, it was narrow-band, and it did not look natural. Dr. Ehman stared at the printout in quiet disbelief. He picked up his red pen. He drew a circle around the sequence of characters, and then, in the margin, next to this impossible, perfect signal from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, he wrote a single, simple word of pure astonishment. Wow! The quiet, monotonous routine of sifting through cosmic noise was over. A single, powerful, and seemingly intelligent whisper had been found in the data. The great scientific mystery of the wow signal had just begun. The computer printout with the red circle and the single word, wow, did not remain a private discovery for long. Dr. Ehman showed his findings to the observatory's director and other colleagues. The news of the anomalous signal began to spread quietly through the small, dedicated community of radio astronomers and SETI researchers. A quiet, intellectual excitement began to build as the signal was subjected to intense, methodical analysis. The scientific community, in its attempt to understand what the big ear had heard, examined every characteristic of the 70-second burst of radio waves. What they found was that the signal perfectly matched nearly all the expectations for a potential broadcast from an intelligent extraterrestrial civilization. First was the nature of the signal itself. It was what scientists call narrow band. Imagine the entire radio spectrum as a vast piano keyboard, stretching for miles in either direction. All known natural sources in the cosmos, the stars, distant galaxies, pulsing quasars tend to play broad, messy chords, pressing down on many keys at once, creating a constant, chaotic noise. But the wow signal was a single, pure, clear note, played on just one or two keys. Our own technology, from television to radio, uses similar narrow-band signals. Scientists had long reasoned that any intelligent civilization attempting to make contact would use such a signal to deliberately stand out from the cosmic static. The wow signal fit this profile perfectly. Second was the signal's frequency. It was detected at a point on the radio dial very close to 1420 MHz. This is a quiet, protected part of the spectrum known to astronomers as the hydrogen line. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the entire universe. For decades, scientists had hypothesized that if a distant intelligence wanted to send a message across the vastness of space, they would choose this universal, quiet frequency as their hailing channel. It would be the logical meeting point on the cosmic radio dial, a sort of universal landmark. The wow signal was found right beside this quiet, cosmic meeting place. Finally, there was the signal's profile over time. The Big Ear telescope was fixed, using the Earth's rotation to scan the sky. Any signal from a fixed point in deep space would drift into the telescope's view, grow stronger, reach a peak intensity as it passed through the center of the beam, and then fade away as it drifted out of view. The entire process for the Big Ear took 70 seconds. The wow signal's intensity, as recorded by the sequence 6EQJ5, followed this exact bell-shaped curve, rising and falling perfectly over the 70-second window. This strongly indicated that its source was not on Earth or from a satellite in orbit, but was located far away, in deep space. In every measurable way, the 70-second burst of radio waves from the constellation Sagittarius was a perfect candidate. It was, for a brief time, the most compelling piece of evidence ever recorded in the long, quiet search for intelligence beyond our own world. The analysis was complete, and the results were extraordinary. There was only one thing left to do: point the Big Ear back to that small patch of sky and listen again, hoping to hear the whisper from the stars one more time. With the extraordinary nature of the signal confirmed, the scientific imperative was clear. A discovery of this magnitude means nothing without verification. A single data point is an anomaly. A second one is a discovery. The astronomers at the Big Ear immediately turned their great instrument back to that same small patch of sky, listening intently for a repeat performance. For the next month, they scanned the region continuously. But the result was only the familiar, ambient static of the cosmos. The whisper from the stars did not return. This was the great turning point in the story of the wow signal. The initial, quiet excitement of the discovery gave way to a long and deeply puzzling silence. In the months, years, and decades that followed, the search expanded. Dozens of other, more powerful radio telescopes around the world were, at various times, aimed at that same region in the constellation Sagittarius. Astronomers have revisited the spot more than 100 times, hoping to hear the signal again. The result of these thousands of hours of patient listening has always been the same: a profound and unbroken silence. The signal of August 15, 1977 was a singular event. It was a cosmic message in a bottle that had washed ashore once, and then the tide went out, leaving the beach empty forever. With no second signal to study, the scientific community turned its efforts to finding a conventional or mundane explanation for the first one. Perhaps it was not a message from another world, but a strange echo of our own. One of the first theories proposed was that the signal was a terrestrial broadcast from Earth, one that had traveled up into space, bounced off a piece of space debris, and been reflected back into the Big Ear's receiver. This theory, however, has several significant weaknesses. The signal was detected on a protected frequency, 1420 MHz, where Earth-based transmissions are, by international law, forbidden. Furthermore, for a reflection to perfectly mimic the 70-second bell curve profile of a fixed, deep space object, the reflecting piece of debris would have had to have been moving in a highly specific and unlikely way. Another theory suggested the signal could have come from an uncatalogued or secret military satellite passing overhead. But extensive checks of all known satellite logs, both public and classified, have shown that no such object was in that part of the sky at that specific time. More recently, in 2017, a new theory was proposed suggesting the signal could have been generated by the hydrogen cloud surrounding a passing comet. This gained some temporary traction but was soon largely refuted by other astronomers. They pointed out that comets do not emit signals that are so powerful and so distinctly narrow-band, and that a thorough check showed no known comets were in the telescope's beam at the time of the signal. The search for a second signal had failed, and the search for a conventional explanation had, for many, also reached a dead end. The wow signal remained what it had been from the very beginning, a 72-second long statistical anomaly, a perfect and singular riddle printed on a sheet of paper, a quiet and persistent question mark hanging in the cosmos, with no second signal to confirm its source, and no terrestrial explanation to dismiss it. We are left with a quiet, intellectual confrontation. The mystery of the wow signal is not one that can be solved with traditional investigation, but one that must be contemplated. What did the Big Ear telescope hear on that summer night in 1977? The question presents two profound possibilities. The first is that the signal was exactly what it appeared to be, a genuine artificial broadcast from an intelligent source, a fleeting hello from a distant, unknown civilization. A brief, powerful message sent for reasons we can never know. A single arrow shot into the cosmic darkness, caught for 72 seconds by our listening post on Earth, before flying on, unheard, forever. The second possibility is that it was a rare and previously unknown natural phenomenon, a chance alignment of cosmic events, or a type of signal our science has not yet categorized, that by pure coincidence perfectly mimicked every single hallmark of an intelligent broadcast. Modern theories have been proposed, such as the idea that the signal was generated by the hydrogen cloud surrounding a comet. But these have been largely refuted and have failed to satisfy the broader scientific community. And so, the signal endures, a perfect and persistent mystery. Its legacy within the scientific community is immense. To this day, the wow signal remains the single strongest candidate for an extraterrestrial broadcast ever detected. Unlike other fleeting anomalies, its intensity, its frequency, its duration, and its apparent point of origin were a near-perfect match for what scientists had been patiently hoping to find for decades. It has become a symbol of both the profound hope and the immense difficulty of the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It is a tantalizing hint that we may not be alone, but it is also a humbling reminder of the vast, overwhelming silence of the universe. It is a single, unexplained data point, a scientific riddle that quietly reminds us of how much there is yet to learn about the cosmos and our small place within it. The story of the wow signal is a story about the quiet, patient act of listening. It is about the search for a single, meaningful note in an endless symphony of cosmic noise. For 72 brief seconds, it seemed as though that note had been found, and then it was gone, leaving behind a silence that has lasted for nearly half a century. It is a scientific mystery in its purest form, a single, perfect piece of data that has, so far, defied all explanation. But the Great Silent Telescope in Ohio has long since been dismantled. The vast, cold distances of the constellation Sagittarius are a world away from you now. Here, in the quiet of your room, the only signals are the familiar, gentle sounds of your own peaceful space. The search is quiet now. The signal is silent. Let the cosmic mystery fade into the soft darkness of the night. All that is left is the gentle certainty of your own rest, and the quiet invitation to sleep. Sleep now.